Do you want to start your own coffee cart or coffee shop and build it into a business with more than 40 employees? Well, David Schomer became a legend when he opened a coffee cart, Espresso Vivace, here in Seattle on Broadway in 1988. In this episode, we'll find out how David scaled his business to amazing heights without having any prior experience in the coffee industry. He authored multiple articles, published a book, and is also world-renowned for turning espresso into a culinary art.
Yes, to succeed in this business, you've got to roast.
What's the most profitable and what's the challenge of running multiple locations for you? We're going to give you a full tutorial on what it's like to roast coffee from A to Z.
This is a sampling roaster. All the decisions are made right here, which made Espresso Vivace a legend in Seattle.
Today, David's going to share how a complete newbie like you can start an espresso business, what mistakes he made that you should avoid, and how you can scale your business to incredible heights like he did. What was your budget to get that started?
That's the important message for you folks.
How are you using social media and what are you spending on that?
Wow, I want that.
So how many pounds can this thing roast per minute, per hour? How is that measured?
So their temperature control all the way to the coffee is perfect, and that's the holy grail.
All right, you guys, without further ado, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. And we're actually standing here. We're going to dive in and go meet David Schomer. This is their roastery for Espresso Vivace here in Seattle. We're going to give you an inside look on what all that looks like.
Hi guys.
Hello, David.
Hey, come on in.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, the sun's out. What's with that? It's Seattle.
Awesome. Let's dive into it.
Sure.
You guys, we're here with the co-founder and creator of Espresso Vivace, David Schomer. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, sure. Thanks for coming.
So tell us where we're at and give us a quick tour.
Well, we're at a 5,000 square foot roasting room right here in Seattle. I want to give you a tour of it, show you green bean storage, where we roast and bag the coffee in there. It's quite loud in there. We're actually underway. It's a working day.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, here's green bean storage. And I've got an army of people to keep this organized. As you can imagine, it get out of hand, it's just nuts. So we've got beans from all over the world here. Vivace mostly focuses on Ethiopia,
okay.
India, and then we have some amazing things coming out of Mexican micro lots.
Okay.
So let's go to roasting.
So this is all fresh beans.
Yeah,
What's
these are
in the
all
boxes?
green beans. And that's cups, lids.
Okay.
We have 3 high volume stores and we got to keep them fed.
So you don't only roast here, you store the inventory for all the 3 stores?
That's right. Everything's here. Everything goes on. Right.
Okay.
Eventually it might all be roasting if this keeps going like this.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Okay.
David, let's start with your story, your background,
Sure.
and how you ended up starting Espresso Vivace.
Well, it goes all the way back to being 4 years old. I kid you not. I walked with my mother to the A&P on Wallingford and 45th. And there was a big red machine, and she turned on the machine, and the coffee's grinding, and I'm smelling this smell and imagining what it could taste like. I'm like, this has to be the best thing in the world. You know, it was all wrapped up with my images of what adulthood could be, the mystery. So I started a coffee business in '88 with the idea to capture that fragrance in a cup using the espresso method.
Wonderful. So you had no background experience in coffee other than enjoying this?
No, I was a metrologist, a precision measurement specialist with Boeing. I'm a classical flute player. And I wanted to do something that was precision, but that was also beautiful to me. So I found both of those in the espresso method and had a couple trips to Italy to refine my understanding of it. And I realized there was nothing in the world about how to make this. So I had a little bit of writing skill, and I produced a book and video courses in '95 to teach the world how to make this as a culinary art.
And we'll share more about that with our audience later in the video. We're going to go show you the actual location, or one of the locations for Espresso Vivace. David's there waiting for us. We're going to give you the inside look about how coffee's made and continue asking some of these great questions. So come with us, guys. Don't mind my dirty Jeep. All right, busy Seattle. Espresso Vivace just across the street. Right there. Let's go take you guys inside. So we're in front of one of your shops here, right?
Brick's location.
It looks beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Let's go back to the early 90s, your first shop, first coffee cart.
Right.
What was your budget to get that started, and what was the most significant cost of part part of that?
Building the cart. Richard
Okay.
Sorensen built us a handmade cart. It was about $10,000 and then another $5,000 for the machine, actually.
Okay.
At that time.
So you're in at 15,000?
Yeah, that's no longer the case.
What would it cost these days?
Oh, the machine that we're using is $23,000. You know, it's called
The machine alone?
Nuova Simonelli T3 technology. Yeah, and it's worth it. I mean, they've done everything that I ever researched or asked for, and they've even gone beyond it. So their temperature control all the way to the coffee is perfect, and that's the holy grail.
But is that part of the cart, or the carts would be extra?
Extra, yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah, if you wanted to start today, it'd be 40.
Okay. There you
Yeah.
go, guys.
40 grand to start a cart, I would
Thanks
think.
to inflation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What did you do to advertise to build customer base? That's very important for our viewers.
Okay.
And is there anything that just didn't work or just didn't result in anything after you spent money on advertising or
Yeah,
et cetera?
advertising, print advertising did nothing. And one thing about the being authority, to go back to that, is you can get some local interviews, some local coverage, but what matters is getting the coffee into their hands and their taste. So go out on the street.
Okay.
Go out on the street with little macchiato or cortados and just give them out. That's what works. You get out on the street, dress nice. We used to have these really classy vests and little bow ties downtown. And we'd go out and we'd just say, try this coffee. And
There you
then
go.
not only do they taste it, and if they're a discerning person, they're like, wow, I want that. But then they're slightly obligated. They have this little tickle of, well, I should. They were awful nice. They give me a coffee.
You guys, before we continue on, David has an incredible hack for you later on in the video, so make sure you keep watching. And the sponsor of this video has an amazing offer for our viewers, so stay tuned. We'll have more details for you later. What's the biggest expense in operating the store?
Yeah, wages is the biggest expense. But I'd have to say that purchasing the equipment and paying the lease on the facility is pretty expensive, and maintaining the equipment. Mechanical equipment by nature, it throws lots of curves at you. It breaks all the time.
So let's talk about green beans though. What does that cost? We stood in your warehouse, you know, with many bags behind us. What would those bags cost?
The Ethiopian Harar that I was getting is about $4.75 a pound.
$4.75,
And
okay.
that's important. The farmers need to make money.
Right.
I want to pay more for green because my customers are happy to pay, and the farmers work harder than
Yeah, they do.
Americans are ever even thought of working,
I bet.
and they need good prices. So I pay a premium, and I'm happy to do so. About $4.75 for Ethiopian Harar.
We're going to give you a full tutorial on what it's like to roast coffee from A to Z. So David, walk us through the beans,
Okay.
the mini processor, and so on.
Start out right here. This coffee, which looks kind of yellow, is Indian Monsoon Malabar, and it has been soaked on a deck in water in the monsoon rains in India, and re-dried, and it has the highest caramelized sugar content of any coffee in the world.
Wow.
When you roast this, it's a Maillard reaction. It produces caramelized sugar, heat, flavonoids, and carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Let's go through what this bean will actually happen to it
Yeah,
when
show
we
us.
roast it. So right here,
What's this called?
this is a sampling roaster. All the decisions are made right here. It's a BRZ2 made by Probac, indestructible German engineering. So I've been roasting on this since 1990 with almost no maintenance. And so I'll roast 100-gram batches, and I go ahead and cup them and find out which coffees I want to use. But it all happens right here on this machine.
Okay, so we go from this machine. You've perfected your roast.
Right. Come on over here.
So we got.
So these beans are weighed out. And
you
I've
got basically a vacuum for beans.
Yeah, it's a vacuum loader to put them up in the roaster. They go right here.
So they come up from there.
Yeah, right here. Then they're in the roaster and they come out. Like this.
How many pounds, or if that's the right question, how many pounds can this thing roast per minute, per hour? How is that measured?
This is about 60 pounds every 15 minutes.
Wow, 60 pounds every 15.
Yeah, so it's 4 times 6, 240 pounds an hour.
How much would you do in a day on this machine?
1,200 maybe.
Wow. I'm dying to know your profit margins and your revenue, of course. So in total, your business, what's the revenue this year that you expect? And profit margins, can you break it down to us between retail sales of the roasted beans versus your coffee here?
I can tell you that my coffee bars are my biggest customer for roasted coffee, and they're bringing in 70% of our annual totals.
Wow, okay.
About 30% comes from our roasting progress, or our roasting program. And that's the only thing I can grow. When I send that pouch to somebody that's discerning, they tell their friend, like I said, they love to spread the word on a great coffee they discover. So I can grow that for years, and I would like that to be the future of Vivace, because retail is so intense. You can lose locations, you're training all the time, things break all the time. I would like to have more roasting and less retail shops in the future.
Switch that to 70-30 or 70% roasting,
yeah, that'd
30%.
be great, yeah.
Let's talk briefly about how important great signs are for coffee shops. I mean, you have a wonderful looking sign.
Oh, thanks.
I love it.
Yeah, you've got to show professionalism. I mean, it's all good to be DIY and an artist with a business, but you've got to show professionalism. You've got to have a nice looking sign that's always clean. Never let your signage be dirty.
Where do you get them? Do you get them online? Do you source them locally? What do they cost on average? Do you recall?
Yeah, I think it's about maybe $1,000 for that sign or something.
Wow, okay.
Maybe 500, but we had a branding team that worked with us and developed this new logo. But it's important, and it's important that it's absolutely pristine clean.
Gotcha. Okay.
Never dirty signage.
No, the sign looks great. And I also wanted to mention to you guys, our sponsor is 2-Day Banners. They will take care of all your signage and banner needs. They have great customer service. They have great ratings. And for our viewers, check this out. They're going to give you a 10% discount. So all the details are in the description below. Make sure you take a minute to check it out. This is where it cools as well?
Yeah, this is the cooling bit. Then it goes into a de-stoner.
A de-stoner, what does that mean? There's stones in the coffee?
Yeah, there's always stones in coffee. So it goes up here, and the stones come out down here.
Can we look at the stones?
Yeah.
Is it an actual stone, David, or you just refer to it as a stone?
No, they're actual stones.
Oh, wow. So
these are rocks and stuff we found in the coffee over the years.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay.
I don't know what those are.
So you actually have rocks right in there.
Yeah. Then it goes into the weigh and fill machine, and it's bagged up.
And you've got these nice custom bags right here. May I take one?
Yeah.
So this is where it ends up going.
And these bags are fully compostable.
Nice. That's very environmentally
Protects
friendly.
the coffee, and you just chuck it anywhere you want.
Okay. And then they just drop down there automatically?
Yeah. And
how many bags do you go through a day?
Oh, let's see.
Estimate.
Oh, 500 maybe, something like that.
Wow, that's a good number.
Yeah, about 500, because they're for retail bars and shipping.
Okay. When did you start roasting? Year, month, just out of curiosity? What kind of space do you need to get started for those who are just getting started? Equipment, and any advantages between doing it yourself or just buying it at the local roaster down the street?
Yes, to succeed in this business, you've got to roast. The prices you're going to pay wholesale coffee are really going to make it very difficult for you to succeed in the coffee shop business. So in 1991, I realized that, plus I wanted to be able to control the flavors more. So for me, it's always been the art. Can I make the fresh roasted coffee taste like it smells in the cup? What does that fresh roasted coffee have in it? So I was chasing the art. And years later, I look back and I realized, well, our bottom line from paying, $12 a pound for coffee down was reduced way down. But so that cost advantage comes with difficulties. To roast, I started out with the Roasteria Vivace. It had a roaster in it. The dust and noise and was just intolerable in the retail environment. So you do need some space. You need high pressure natural gas. It's technical, but trust me, if you want to get established as a coffee business and you're paying someone else for their coffee, it's going to be not a success. You have to be a roaster.
But you started within your local shop. So people
Yeah.
who are just getting into the business don't need to go out and rent a 5,000 square foot shop.
Oh,
right?
no, you could get a little, get a Diedrich, like, I think they have a 5 kilogram now, a shop roaster. Get a small roaster that you can run in the store, and that gives you authenticity and excitement. But as soon as you're roasting any significant quantities, you're going to realize it doesn't match the store.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's too dirty and noisy and takes up too much space.
Is it seasonal? Do you have slow months, busy months? Tell us more about that.
I made a joke earlier that it's a culinary art with drugs in it, and you're going to find out they're going to come. The regulars will be here every day. One of the best things about an established coffee business is it's so regular. You don't have these huge fluctuations, so you can staff and you can enjoy a nice regular life. But of course, bad storms, it's going to be when it first hits, business drops off. But interestingly enough, when it first gets sunny, business drops off. So any weather change, the business drops off, but it's pretty steady year round.
But if you take the average, it's pretty
Yeah,
steady.
it's pretty great because they got to have their coffee.
Okay. You guys, if you want more actionable tips, tricks, advice from business owners like David, check out our podcast, upflip.com/podcast. Do it. What would be, I would say, the biggest mistake that you've made? What did you learn from that experience? What was it? Share that with us, please.
Well, my hubris and ego were infinite in 1989, and I really feel I could succeed anywhere. So I went downtown in the financial district, and I set a guy out. He counted 14,000 people a day walking by this corner. The bank said you can put a cart there. What I discovered, they were not discerning people. They just simply didn't care. Coffee was caffeine for them, and I learned some hard lessons. I got out of there. I could not build loyalty. One day they'd be saying, "This is the best thing I ever had." They'd cruise by with a Starbucks the next day, or Stewart Brothers, which was a thing then.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't build loyalty. The loyalty was built when I was in urban neighborhoods where you have people of all walks of life you can find real discerning people.
So go to urban areas.
Oh, absolutely. The location of coffee shop must be urban areas that are dense with condominiums and apartments, things like that. Sure, there's going to be competition all over, but you want that. They go in there and they go, okay, and then they try yours and they go, OMG, what's going on here? And so don't worry about competition. You want to go in right next to Starbucks in the densest neighborhood you can find.
Okay.
Even though the lease will be high. So there are numbers. The numbers will rule that. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, there you go, guys.
Yeah.
Please show us some support by liking this video. We greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Show our audience the must-have equipment for this coffee shop and really any other coffee shop. And walk us through the brand, how much it costs.
Yeah.
Could you go with low end for good coffee and things like that?
The espresso machine is critical, as is the grinder. So the Nuova Simonelli T3 technology is what I like, because they've taken the group head and put a heating element in that.
Can you show us up close
Yeah, sure.
as you
Come on
as you
in.
kind of explain to us?
Yeah, sure. And if you put your fingers here, it's heated to the coffee temperature, all the way to the coffee. So it's a very stable temperature, which is the holy grail on making gourmet espresso.
How much is this?
This is, I think I'd have to check, but between 18 and 22,000 for a 3-group.
Okay.
Nuova Simonelli T3. And they also have them in different look called the Black Eagle, which I'm jealous. I want one. They're so beautiful.
What else is most important in terms of equipment? You got fridges, Beverage Air is the brand. Okay.
Right.
What are they range just per unit, you think?
I
Couple
think they're
grand?
I think they're only 600 or 700. But
Okay.
again, I
bad.
haven't bought a refrigerator in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, I just trust Geneva and the managers, and they do a great job.
You've got the grinders too.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, the grinder is the Niche Zero. It's
Niche
a home
Zero.
grinder.
What do they cost?
These are only $650
Per
but
each?
but they're unavailable. If they make one capable of gourmet espresso, in other words, employing all my improvements, and this is a big subject,
Okay.
they sell out instantly. They can't keep up with demand worldwide. They
Wow.
cannot keep up. So
Business idea for you guys.
yeah,
Figure that out.
Yeah, if you want to build a gourmet grinder, that's the ultimate business idea.
What do you mean by gourmet grinder, though? I really want to know.
Oh, there's so many attributes. The powder has to get to the portafilter without the fine particles migrating from static. The grinder cannot heat up. It cannot have ground coffee trapped in it.
Wow.
These are the principal things. It's got to have a conical burr turning at 300 RPM. Are you asleep yet?
I am.
It's like,
Are you
holy-
guys?
Yeah, it's very technical. At my website, espressovivace.com, my blog covers this,
Okay.
as my new book does too.
How are you using social media? What platforms, and what are you spending on that?
We're using Instagram and Facebook, and I have a social media coordinator. But what they love is they love the nitty gritty. Like if I'm tearing down a grinder in order to modify it, and they show me with tools and crap all over, they love that. That's what they like. And also I have a channel of my own within Instagram. It's called Pink Sleeves Productions.
Okay.
And that's the best latte art I pour every morning for my wife, who has a nightgown with pink sleeves. So
That's how you got it.
yeah, it's a fun thing. So they like to see what I'm doing on equipment. They like to see what personnel are doing. Baristi, they have a favorite baristi. They want to know the single origin for the Sunday. We have a different bean every Sunday that we offer. And Teal, my one of my trusted managers and also our social media coordinator, he gets big hits when he runs details on the new coffee.
Are you spending anything on advertising?
No,
Or
we don't
social media?
spend a penny.
You don't spend a penny?
Ever.
Wow.
It's all word of mouth because that is the best quality growth. I mean, even if advertising worked, which is not my experience, and you get a bubble, like a Groupon thing, and you get a bubble of people, a huge bubble, and they displace your regulars like, oh, hell, I'm not going to wait in a 20-minute line. Then they go away to the next thing.
Right.
But if you have word of mouth growth, you own them forever because their friend told them, they taste either the whole bean they receive at home or beverages we make them, they're like, oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever had. That slow, steady growth wins the race.
Let's talk about the advantages of starting a coffee cart
Sure.
versus starting a full-blown coffee shop.
Well, the cash. I had about
Right.
10,000, so I was able to build a cart and get a machine and get it on the street for about $10,000 or $11,000 startup costs in April 18th, 2:00 p.m., 1988.
Much less than a coffee shop.
Yeah, oh, a lot less. No, the cart was a good way to get people introduced to my coffee. We were a cart until 1992. That's
Wow.
3 years.
That's wonderful.
Oh, wait, that's 4 years. I knew that.
Hope you guys take note and get started that way. Much less cost than...
Yeah, we were lean and mean. I mean, we just didn't have a lot of resources. We didn't want to take out any loans. So,
Okay.
and we wanted to just establish a word of mouth reputation, making coffee on the street. And like I said, it's funny. They asked me if I had hot dogs for the first 4 months. Where's the bus? What time does it come? And I just kept patiently making that coffee.
Do you have particular farms for where you get green beans, and what does the sourcing process look like?
I have regional brokers. They'll specialize in a certain area. I've got an Ethiopian specialist. I now have a Mexican micro-lot specialist, as well as, of course, Indian Malabar specialist. That's Joe Suma.
Okay.
And they bring me the best Indian Malabar they have for years and years and years. So I recommend that. And the next step is use sample roast. I sample roast every week, crops from around the world. That's how I discovered that Mexico was getting so good. So I put them on that sample roaster I showed
Right,
you,
little tiny
and I
one.
do 200 grams, and I cup them, and I decide which beans to use.
Okay. You mentioned a couple names of brokers. Do you mind sharing them with us?
Not at
Can
all.
people use them all around the nation, or are they just local?
Atlas Brokers was started by Craig Holt. He's moved on, but they're fantastic.
Okay.
Joe
Jot 'em down,
Suma
you guys.
for Indian. I've got, well, of course, it's Best Liesler, I think, is the big European broker, which brings me coffees from all over the world, Ethiopia, all over the place. They're a huge European green bean broker. So that's 3 I can think of the name right off.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's good value. And you guys, we've done other videos on coffee shops, coffee industries. Make sure you check it out. They're a lot of fun as well. Let's talk about how many employees you have, how much you pay them, any tips and advice on how you train your baristas, and all those important aspects.
Well, of course, wages have been set by the state of Washington, $16.79 right now for the untipped wage per hour, which gives them a chance to, pay rent. But what happens is that people love Vivace, and so they tip pretty well.
Okay.
But $16.79 an hour has tied our hands. We can no longer reward people with higher and higher salaries as they advance in the company. So as we live and speak right now, that's a challenge I have of trying to figure out how to reward excellence when they've driven the base weight so high.
Do you have health benefits? How do you train them? Any particular processes you're willing to share with us?
Training is a way of life here. They start out with an interview with all of us, and the second interview is an hour with me on the espresso machine. Okay.
Hands-on.
So, yeah, hands-on. And then after that, they're training with Tracy and me continuously for the first month or two, and then they're monthly and they're quarterly for the rest of their careers. So I have managers that have been with me 22 years and they still train with me. Training is a way of life here.
How do you retain them, right, and reduce the turnover?
Well, turnover is a function of larger economic forces. So we've always had very low turnover. Our average, our managers have been here 20 years. Our long-running barista has been here 22 years. But we find that the job itself, if you're an artist and you have something on the side, and then you're making coffee for your living, that person's going to stay a long time. So there's no quick and easy answer, but the job is fascinating. We treat them well. We're very organized business entity. I mean, payroll, schedules, everything is quite regular for them because of my partners. I can't emphasize enough that if you have an artistic temperament, you need partners around you to handle all the mundane billions of details running a business.
In the past couple of years, we've seen supply chain disruptions, with the pandemic. This and
you
that.
think? Yeah.
How does that affect the coffee industry, and are you concerned about rising costs? How are you going to deal with it? Any tips, advice there?
Well, that's a multi-layered question. First
Right.
of all is the supplies issue. My shipper, Darren, who's been with me 17 years, and
Wow.
he is like a year ahead. As soon as we saw things were getting flaky with COVID, we're a year ahead on essential supplies, especially green coffee.
Wow, okay.
The second part of that question being, how do I account for the cost? It's not my nature to be able to delve into massive amounts of numbers. My original co-founder and business partner, Geneva Sullivan, runs the entire numerical taxation, payroll, inventory part of this business. And that's the important message for you folks, is that again, know your strengths and use them. I cannot force myself to grind through accounting and taxes. You need that person. So, we know the cost of goods sold to 1/10 of a penny, and we review this almost weekly. But we set prices at the bar annually, and same thing with whole bean. We do set annually, so there'll be a while where it's lean for us, and then we have to adjust. But in general, the customers have gone right along with us. We have never seen a decrease from a justified price increase. We've never seen a decrease in customer volume or appreciation from a justified price increase.
How important are coffee shop locations? Tell us about how you chose this one and the others.
Coffee shop location is very important. There's an old saying, location, location, location. Oh my God, yes. You must be. If you're going to do quality, you must be in a dense urban neighborhood where they can try you and tell their friends. If you have a big marketing budget, hey, SeaTac Airport, public market, tourist area. But if you're focused on quality as your method of doing business, you have to have an urban neighborhood.
Urban area. Well, what if I live in a small town and it doesn't really have an urban area?
Don't do it. I would never open a coffee shop in a small town.
Drive-throughs, they tend to be doing good?
No, it's horrible business. Just a dog business.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's good that you're coming from that perspective.
Carts are also a dog business. You need to know it. They're horrible. You need an indoor store.
Okay. What makes Espresso Vivace stand out? What do you guys do differently, whether it's roasting, whether it's service? What can you highlight?
Well, it's two things. It's the Northern Italian roast. When I was in Italy, I discovered that Milano and right around that region had the very sweetest coffee. And the famous Ely Cafe of Trieste, when I met them, they said, hey, our Northern Italian roast they call normale. This is like normal. And what I learned from further experimentation and roasting work was that you can capture the caramelized sugar. Now, roasting is a Maillard reaction. It means that it produces caramelized sugar, heat, it's exothermic. If I don't turn off my, dump my beans and force cool them, they light on fire, even if I turn off my gas. It's very exothermic. It produces flavonoids, hundreds of them, which are all very delicate. The first answer is that the roast is unique. I've tuned it to where I capture all the caramelized sugar and origin flavors. An Ethiopian should have a chocolate umami up front and a blueberry finish. I capture those simultaneously and drop the roast right there. But all that wonderfulness takes an enormous technique and equipment to bring it to the customer as the espresso method. So it's the focus and fidelity on the beauty of the coffee which made Espresso Vivace a legend in Seattle. And as far as my book has traveled, which is from New Zealand and Australia through Taiwan and Japan, that I've helped people all over this world.
That's wonderful. Yeah, not just Seattle that you guys are known for. You're known globally,
because
so that's amazing.
I'm acknowledged for having done that. And you know, the parade has passed me by. There's all kinds of new and current things, but those that actually know and struggle with espresso, they know my work.
Blitz time with David. David, we got 10 seconds, no more to answer these questions. The first one is from Mahad. What are your plans for the next 5 to 10 years?
Mahad, I want to sell whole bean coffee all over the United States.
Okay, this one's from Gump Happens. What made you think about starting your own business? How long had you been thinking about it? And what finally made you take that jump?
I wasn't making any money playing the flute, and I discovered an art with drugs in it.
Okay.
What could be better?
This is from Atras. Thank you. If you had to start a new business in a different field, David, what would it be and why?
I would be a consultant for environmental economics.
Okay, this one's from This Is Good. Thank you for submitting it. Simple question. Why are you better than your competition?
Focus and effort and diligence.
Okay, a couple more. This is from Adrian Walker. Thanks for submitting your question. Best part of being a business owner?
The best part of being a business owner, if there's a stupid policy, I made it. But there isn't.
Okay. This is from Corrupt. Will you marry me? Corrupt? I don't know. That's David's.
Already married. Thank you.
Sorry. And last but not least, Melanie Marine. I like when y'all ask about books they recommend, so I found some books. What's your favorite non-business book?
I'm reading a lot of Barry Eisler right now. He does assassination books with his characters John Rain, who kills without any evidence.
There you go, you guys. How many locations do you have in total right now?
3 retail spots.
3 retail,
yeah.
Okay. And what's the most profitable and what's the challenge of running multiple locations for you?
Well, this Bricks location is the most profitable place.
Okay.
It costs about $750,000 to build one of these with a marble bar and everything. You'll see.
Yeah.
They're expensive.
Okay.
So the key is to something as chaotic as a high volume coffee bar to have a manager dedicated. But right now my street bar does not have a dedicated manager. That's down the street. It's a sidewalk bar. But my 2, I call them grand bars, because when I was in Italy, something over 1,000 square feet with a curved marble is a grand bar. Mm-hmm. And so I have 2 grand bars here and then across from REI on Yale Street, and they are dedicated managers focused on them.
What are some challenges with 3 locations? What would you highlight as far as a challenge, in terms of running it, being a business owner, etc.?
Oh, without a doubt, the personnel is always the #1 challenge in running a business.
Okay.
So what we do, and I mentioned that being an authority doesn't help you on retail sales, but it does help you attract people. Mm-hmm. So I have applicants coming to me that target Espresso Vivace because of what I've developed. So that actually is a big benefit for knowing your business real well. You attract a person that wants to do something beautiful, because it is a culinary art. Mm-hmm. So personnel is the hardest. My reputation helps.
David, let's talk about what's next for Espresso Vivace. What do you want to do in the next 3 to 4 years and focus on?
What I'm focusing on is selling whole bean coffee retail throughout the United States. Because what happens is, again, it's word of mouth. So they get this coffee, and if they're discerning and good at making coffee, they go, well, my God, I got to tell my friends. And so it's very slow, steady growth. And I can roast probably 3 times the amount that I'm doing now, and without one compromise on quality at all.
Why roast rather than open up more locations in Seattle, Washington, you name it?
Yeah, more locations means more training. And so I'm training as hard as I can. I do have a training department, but we have 40 baristi, and our standards are very high. So I am limited to the number of baristas that I can be sure will make the coffee to our standards. So I'm limited by personnel, and I'm happy with that. I can walk everywhere, and I'm a little bit, like I say, I'm not a real good business person. I'm an artist that is in business with good partners. So I do not get in a car, I don't drive anywhere, and I can walk to all my stores. So again, my strength is my weakness. You're going to come back to that with me a lot. That my compulsion to do something beautiful limits me on how much money I'm going to make, but it focuses on an intensely good experience for the customer. Okay. So we're a little bit different in our business philosophy. We don't want to be big, we want to be the absolute best.
What would be your 3 to 4 pieces of advice when it comes to chain supply in this industry?
Well, I do have a good warehouse manager that stays ahead on cups, lids, all those things, but those are domestic. The real problem is green bean coffee from Ethiopia, India, other places like that, traveling on the ocean. So I recommend multiple brokers. I have 4 brokers I've been working with for years. These are people that secure coffee, they give me a sample, I roast it, I say yes, they ship. Well, now the delays are incredible. So Tom Kilty saved our ass on these Sidamo from Ethiopia because my container is stuck outside of LA, and he's come in with 30 bags he had in Oakland. So I've diversified on the number of brokers that can save us on green bean. That's the only way we're getting through.
Got it. Okay. More than one broker is definitely a good idea.
A very good idea.
Okay. You started with no knowledge and no experience in the coffee industry. There are a lot of people out there thinking the same. Do they need experience? What kind of experience? What can you tell our viewers about that?
Yes, definitely, because you got to avoid some of the mistakes I made. I survived, and I can say I surround myself with really good partners, but yes, you need some experience to crack this business. This is, 2021? This is a very mature industry in the U.S. right now. In '88, it was still kind of a novelty.
That's true. Okay, and today, what would your advice be? Where would I go, to 3 different sources to learn, to gain knowledge? Anything comes to mind?
Since I'm not doing that, I have no idea, but I do recommend you find some good consultants. The SCAA is the kiss of death. Ignore everything they say, but find someone that's successful and see if they're a consultant.
What does that stand for, SCAA?
Oh, especially Coffee Association of America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Note that from an expert.
Yeah, they're
world-renowned.
Absolutely toxic in regards to espresso.
Okay. So earlier we mentioned that we'll have a hack for you from David. David, this is the time to share a hack, a couple of hacks to our audience that'll help them in this industry.
Really, presentation of latte art. If you're starting a coffee shop, you master that latte art and people go, oh my God, this is great. So mastering latte art would be the great trick to let them know right up front you're gourmet.
Can I follow up on that and say, how do you get to being mastered at that? Do you train well, or what's the secret to getting there?
I have training materials. We're
going to get some books and art literature from you that David actually
published. This is the original tape on how to pour latte art. There's lots of things in the world right now. This is 1994. And right now the latte art has gotten, if I may, a lot better.
What is this about?
This is the book. This is my pattern. I poured this. The one I tried to pour you. This is a caped heart, and Espresso Perfection shows you the shot and the latte art. So,
lots of practice.
Yeah, the hook to really let them know it's special. People are visual. It takes them 2 or 3 times to taste it to know, wow, that's really better. But visually, they're like, I'm coming back.
Let's talk about challenges. You're a business owner. What would be the biggest challenge right now, and how has that changed since early 90s?
Well, right now, we're in COVID, and so the biggest challenge is that they're paying them so much unemployment, nobody wants to work.
There you go.
So that's ending.
That is a challenge.
So yeah, finding people in this environment, again, it goes back to the authority thing that I've published books and videos since 1994, and baristas that want to perfect the art, they apply. So I haven't seen it, but a lot of my friends running restaurants are like, oh my God, half my cooks quit. It's a terrible environment.
Wow.
It
Puts you in a tough
seesaws. Yeah,
spot.
it goes back and forth. Sometimes the employees rule. And sometimes the employers rule. It's a seesaw that goes back and forth. So right now it's tough to get people, and as always, getting the right people is the biggest challenge.
Well, David, this has been incredible. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for the
sure.
interview.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, and I'm sure our
my
audience
pleasure.
have as
Yeah.
well.
No, it was a blast, man. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Well, that's a wrap for Espresso Vivace with owner and co-founder David. I hope you guys took out a ton of things that you can execute in your world, in your industry. We appreciate you a ton. Please like, subscribe, hit that bell so that you don't miss any videos. And thank you so much for watching.